In 1997, Steve Jobs returned to Apple and set his annual salary at $1. Not symbolic, official. He kept that salary for 14 years while Apple became the most valuable company on earth. In 2014, Elon Musk released every Tesla patent to the public for free. Any competitor could use them. He called it the right thing to do. Tesla's valuation subsequently rose by hundreds of billions of dollars. These two facts seem irrational. They contradict everything a finance textbook tells you about incentives, compensation, and competitive advantage. But Marcus Aurelius described exactly this pattern in 161 AD. I am Marcus. I teach wealth through Stoic philosophy and modern psychology. Today we examine three principles that Jobs, Musk, and the ancient Stoics share, and why together they form what I call the actual algorithm of generational wealth. First, let us be precise about the paradox. Every standard model of wealth building says, optimize for financial return, protect your competitive advantages, and pay yourself as much as the market allows. Jobs and Musk violated all three rules simultaneously, and yet the outcome, Jobs' net worth at death exceeded $10 billion. Musk is currently the wealthiest private individual in recorded human history. The rule breakers won by the very metric they ignored. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." Wealth, he implied, follows the same law. The Stoics had a word for this, apatheia. Not apathy in the modern lazy sense, but freedom from being controlled by an outcome. When you are not controlled by money, you make better decisions about it. This is the foundation everything else rests on. Now, Principle 1, mission over margin. Jobs did not talk about profit in his keynotes. He talked about putting a dent in the universe. Musk does not announce quarterly targets. He announces missions to Mars and species-level survival. This is not marketing strategy. Morgan Housel writes in The Psychology of Money that the best long-term financial decisions come from people with a strong sense of enough, a boundary defined by purpose, not number. Mission creates that boundary naturally. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the man who hankers after more." The man who hankers after more will cut corners, alienate talent, and optimize for the quarter, destroying the very engine that produces lasting wealth. When Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company had 90 days of cash remaining. He could have optimized for survival, cut products, raise margins, pay himself properly. Instead, he launched iMac, iPod, iTunes. Mission first. The cash followed. The psychological mechanism here is well documented. Daniel Kahneman showed that when people focus on an intrinsic goal, solving a problem they care about, they access a different quality of cognitive resource than when they focus on external reward. Better thinking produces better companies. Principle 2, radical openness. When Musk released Tesla's patents, competitors called it a stunt. What actually happened, the entire electric vehicle ecosystem accelerated, demand for EVs rose globally, and Tesla, the brand most associated with that ecosystem, captured the most value from the rising tide. This is the network effect of generosity. Naval has articulated this clearly in the modern context. Give away your knowledge, your frameworks, your insights. The person who teaches the most becomes the most trusted, and trust is the actual currency of the information economy. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of history's most influential philosophers, wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The paradox deepens. Fewer wants mean clearer thinking, mean better allocation of the one resource no one can buy, attention. Jobs' $1 salary was not sacrifice. It was clarity. He held stock options. He was profoundly incentivized for long-term equity value. But removing cash compensation removed a short-term psychological pull that causes most executives to make structurally bad decisions every single quarter. Warren Buffett has practiced this for 7 decades without naming it Stoic. He still lives in the same Omaha house he bought in 1958. He has described wealth as a byproduct of doing something he loves obsessively well. The framing is different. The mechanism is identical. Principle 3. Ego subtraction. This one is the least obvious and the most powerful. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The ego wants credit. Ego subtraction removes that want and unlocks collaboration at scale. Jobs was famously difficult, but examine what he actually did with his ego. He directed it entirely at the work, not at recognition, not at defeating rivals personally, not at accumulating titles. The ego was subtracted from relationships and invested entirely in product obsession. Musk's ego subtraction looks different. He positions himself as an agent of civilizational survival, not personal glory. Whether you find that credible or not, the structural effect is the same. People give enormous resources and talent to missions larger than one person's enrichment. The Stoic term is summum bonum, the highest good. For Marcus Aurelius, it was virtue expressed through action for the common benefit. When your stated purpose is the common benefit, you attract the most capable people, the longest capital, and the deepest loyalty. These are the inputs to compounding. Now let us connect all 3 principles. Mission over margin produces the right product. Radical openness produces the right ecosystem. Ego subtraction produces the right team. Together, they create the conditions for what Charlie Munger called the Lollapalooza effect. Multiple forces working in the same direction simultaneously. The counter-argument is obvious. Most people who do not chase money also do not become wealthy. Stoic indifference alone does not produce $1 billion. Competence must precede philosophy. But here is the precise claim. Among the highly competent, those who add Stoic principles consistently outperform those who do not. The psychology explains why. A person chasing money experiences loss aversion constantly. Every competitor, every down quarter, every missed metric registers as a threat. Chronic threat response degrades strategic thinking. The person building a mission registers those same events as information, not danger. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote that the impediment to action advances action, What stands in the way becomes the way. For the mission-driven builder, obstacles are data. For the money chaser, they are existential. One group learns faster. Learning compounds like interest. There is a modern name for what Jobs and Musk practiced. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called it flow, the state of complete absorption in meaningful work where self-consciousness dissolves. Flow is not a mood, it is a performance multiplier. The Stoics built an entire life philosophy to access it permanently. So what does this mean for you, practically, today? The three principles translate directly into three questions. 1. What would I build if the profit were guaranteed? 2. What knowledge or advantage could I give away that would expand my entire field? 3. What decision am I making for ego rather than outcome? These are not philosophical exercises. They are diagnostic tools. Every major strategic error I have studied in business, Kodak, Blockbuster, Enron, Lehman Brothers, fails at least one of these three tests. Mission drifted, openness collapsed, ego took over. The Stoic checklist is also the failure prevention checklist. Marcus Aurelius governed the most powerful empire in the world while writing privately that power meant nothing without virtue. Jobs and Musk, whatever their flaws, built accordingly. The paradox was never a paradox. Wealth follows value. Value follows mission. Mission follows the decision to care about something larger than the money. Begin there.